What is the number one question to ask an editor? I'm looking for one. You know what I would advise? Being on the editing panel at Vidsummit was an absolutely amazing experience. I love the people that I was with, but more importantly, I love that I was able to answer questions that a lot of you had. I saw on the Wova app that you guys did leave questions for our panel, so I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions for you. And if you ever have any more questions, leave them down in the comment section and I can continue to make these videos and help you as much as I can. Looking to hire a video editor to help me grow my channel. So if your question is where can you find video editors to help you grow with your channel, I would really suggest you use Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. You can find a lot of video editors on there. And if not, you can also use websites like ytjobs.co, and you can specifically look for talent, which is essentially video editors, thumbnail designers, anything that you need, chances are you can find it on there as well. Where do you get stock footage and how do you draw the line taking clips from another YouTube video? With a lot of the businesses that I've worked with, whether they are an individual creator or an actual company, you have to ask them, do they have any licensing for their channel through their business? Meaning that they have to go to these websites like, let's say, Storyblocks, and the company needs to make a company account for them that then you can log into. So any stock footage you use for their video, it's their company that gets that, the license for it, and not exactly you. Check licensing agreements, make sure that the company or the creator you're gonna work for has already a license for that, and then that way everyone's grounds get covered. For videos that are more informational like how-tos, how do you make that into a story? So the way you can do that is, for example, if I'm gonna give a information-based video about how to edit, I can think of ways that editing has affected my personal life and weave that story into the kind of topic I'm gonna talk about. So I can talk about the first time I created my first video, and that topic on that video is gonna be about A-cuts and how I made the worst video because the A-cuts were jarring, I just wasn't doing a good job. But you have to make sure, because this is informational based, that everything that you talk about, the audience can retain it to the best of their abilities. So make sure your audio is clear. If you put graphics on screen, make sure that they can read those very nicely. And more importantly, I highly advise that anything you do choose to put on screen, make sure that it's worth putting on screen. Don't throw something on there if the audience is gonna look at it and it just didn't do anything besides take their eyeballs off of you. Remember, every piece of content has a job. If yours is to give information, do it at the best possible way that you can by explaining it and how it affected you and how it can affect them. What program does everyone prefer for editing? This one isn't exactly as straightforward to answer, but I can tell you this. I would highly advise you to edit on the program that you can get your hands on right away, and I highly advise you to focus first on the technical aspects of editing, such as even doing A-cuts and improving from there. The more foundational editing you have under your belt and knowing how to do a nice A-roll cut, the better chance you have of knowing now what it is that you want to do to elevate your videos next, and then you can choose your software based on your needs or maybe your client's needs. But just use whatever's available to you first, get your foundation base, and then you can kind of figure out and tinker with other software after that. What audio tech such as microphones do you use? Well, at my place, I use a Fifine microphone. If I can find the exact model, I'll throw it on screen for you. Here at the studio on my desk, I do have a Logitech Blue Yeti microphone that I use for voice calls. And then when it comes to these microphones here, because these are for like the studio set, can I actually see which one this is? I think this one's an MK41. I gotta be honest, I use Tom's set whenever I'm here at the studio, so he knows a lot more about what kind of microphones we have, but I believe that's what I'm using right here. Where's the best place to find an editor? Well, you can use Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. You can find video editors on there. There's actually a ton of them that have their profiles on Twitter. Just search video editor on the search bar and just kind of browse and see if you can find someone. But worst case, you can also go to ytjobs.co. You can search for talent and then look for video editors or kind of just anyone that you might need on your team. What would your advice be to a new channel that is talking heads? Given that that is exactly the kind of content I primarily edit all the time, to sum up everything I could potentially say here, just make everything you intend to do in your talking head videos intentional. Meaning, any B-roll you plan to show, make sure that it's giving more to the information and helping the audience really understand what you're trying to tell them. If you choose to put text on screen, don't put text on screen if it's gonna be there for half a second and I don't have a chance to read it. It's make sure that it's on screen long enough, and make sure that the text again supports what it is that you're trying to convey. Everyone's gonna have their own style and flavoring to how they choose to do that. Whether it's me trying to tell someone to download this app, you have to make sure the audience has enough time to retain every little bit that you're trying to give them time to retain. How did Hayden Hillier Smith get so handsome? Yeah, right? What the heck, Hayden? CapCut or Premiere Pro? For me, Premiere Pro, hands down. What is the number one question to ask an editor? I'm looking for one. You know what I would advise? Ask them a question about themselves. Ask them what their goals are. Ask them what their interests are. Even ask them if they like the contents that you're potentially going to ask them to edit for. Believe it or not, every editor has weaknesses and they have strengths. And I think it's much more better if up front you both can kind of learn each other's weaknesses and strengths, because you're gonna quickly realize that editor that you hire to do a talking head video, yeah, he's not very good at talking heads. For some reason, he finds them difficult, but he will shine if you decided to do a gaming video. Everyone has a weakness and strength, and I highly advise that if you're gonna hire an editor, get to know them first. Should an editor be able to edit shorts, long form, and mid form content? If you're asking if an editor should just be willing and able to do all of those pieces of content, technically yes. I mean, that is a skill. Every little piece of content you make and the kind of content you're gonna make is a skill. But if you're saying, if I pay my editor $100, should I expect him to be able to do all that or even have the time to do all that? That is an entirely different conversation. But I would say, talk to the editor, see what kind of content they'd like to make, and see if their skill level is there. And if not, don't immediately cut them out of your life because they're not doing what you need. Are they willing to learn? And if they are, I can bet you if you give them that chance, you'd be surprised at how quickly and how willing they are to learn a new style of editing. Because believe it or not, short form versus long form, entirely different ballgame. What kind of virtual assistants do you have, and what do they do for you and your team? I don't have a virtual assistant. The closest thing to an assistant I have is actually my girlfriend, when she'll do my photography or she'll help me splice some A-roll. But yeah, I don't have one. For a 20-minute video, how much raw footage are you usually working with? That really depends. I mean, some videos can have 21 minutes of footage and I only had to cut down a minute. And sometimes I get more than an hour, but I have to trim it as much as I can. And yeah, it ends up being 20 minutes. So that one's kind of hard to answer, but I'll say this. For me and Thomas Frank, we always make long form content, and that's not even on purpose. And more often than not, if a video ends up being 20 minutes, then it was roughly around maybe 30 minutes of footage I was working with. Or sometimes, and he can vouch for this, we've even hit an hour before. So yeah, it just depends. Depends on the content. To all video editors, how do you fight burnout? To be honest here, I actually have a hard time myself fighting that. Mainly because I just love what I do so much that I'm sometimes like really willing to keep pushing myself, because I just want to be creative. I want to help people. I want to make amazing things with amazing friends. But sometimes I forget that my mind needs a break. Even my body sometimes, sitting in a chair all hours of the day is not exactly healthy. So I got to make sure I take time for walks, going to the gym, lifting some weights, eating healthy food to take care of myself. So I'll say this, that when it comes to burning out, because I actually recently burned out really bad, where my brain could not just focus on work for more than 10 minutes, the best thing I did was to walk away, not even look at my computer, not even touch it. I literally told myself, you're gonna give yourself a couple days of literally no computer work. Now, I used my cell phone still, I was still able to use my TV, my tablets, but the point was, the temptation of getting on my computer was gonna lead me to wanting to do some work, so my best chance at fighting that was to just not even turn it on. And that's gonna be it for the questions. Now, this was a lengthy video, but overall, I hope that I was able to help all of you that asked those questions, and overall, I hope you guys enjoyed the panel. If you have any more questions for future videos, please leave them down in the comment section. I would love to help you as much as I can. But other than that, feel free to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and we can keep in touch there, and I'll keep you guys posted on any new contents that I am making or planning to make. And if you were at Vidsummit and you saw me there and you're watching this video, I highly thank you again for everything. You guys absolutely made my trip. I did not expect as much love as I got, and believe it or not, you made me feel that I have more to contribute, and trust me when I say I'm already working on giving you guys as much more as I can. So thank you again. See you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day.